13 seconds of logos, because this is one of the few occasions where 90 minutes of logos and 45 seconds of movie would have been preferable. Previously on The Human Centipede. Wait a minute, how the f did this show get renewed for a second season? How'd you find actors who saw the first one and said, yep, sign me up? Also, I'm willing to wager that a good portion of you are wondering, goddamn, why are these sadists sending this disgusting sequel whose existence I am just now learning of? Well, to wit, I'd like to remind you all that once upon a time, Jesus invented capitalism, which shortly after led to Lenin inventing the internet, which led to YouTube, which led to the gentrification of Jesus' true theory of capitalism, which led to our Human Centipede Sins video, which then led to 1 million of you people watching it, which then led us to sending the second movie. Great job, Jesus. This will cry on for all to some time. I mean, get to the Human Centipede 2ing already. Holy shit, can't believe I said that. What a twist! The first movie had a director. I can't believe I missed that. Also, oh no, they're gonna book a Shadows Blair Witch 2 this thing. So now we're gonna get all tongue-in-cheek about a movie with literal tongues in cheeks. Yep, this sequel is about some guy who's obsessed with the human centipede and aspires to recreate it. A clear commentary on how the internet dealt with the first movie. Some people loathe it and others worship it as the peak of horror cinema. And something about video game violence, possibly vaccinations. I can't remember if it was pro or against. Anyway, you should be impressed by its black and white nature and prepare your eyeballs for an art house Also, 15 full seconds of the previous movie's credits. Not gonna lie, I thought this was yet another computer screen with someone watching this guy watching the first Human Centipede. Probably would have made this movie better somehow. Just meta this thing to death. God is sad. Look, if something goes down on this guy's watch, I can't imagine anything more embarrassing than getting that box checked on your pink slip that says, dereliction of duty, watching Human Centipede. Also, movie is confused as to whether it is Human Centipede 2 or just simply P2. Everyone in the real world who parks like this and doesn't find themselves in a Human Centipede movie as righteous retribution. Hey man, you can't just watch the Human Centipede and suddenly become an expert at sewing people together. I know this because I have common sense.
It's only one guy. Not real good.
Movie thinks that just because it creates a character that probably should get sewn to another human being as punishment, that I will now be inclined to root for the crowbar-wielding psychopath in exchange. Martin's journey to create his own pede begins by sloppily shooting his first subjects and cracking them on the bonks with the crowbar. I'm not sure how he expects to keep them alive with injuries like this. And full disclosure, I know the final scene suggests this could be a fantasy, but that's a dirty cop-out that I am choosing to ignore. Also, since I'll be ignoring the it was all a fantasy ending, why wouldn't he, as the man who controls the CCTV cameras, turn them off before pulling the shit? Martin's chronic cough throughout this entire goddamn movie. It's good to see that you can commit crimes in a parking garage and feel absolutely no sense of urgency after leaving 2 shot and unconscious bodies behind. Our main character has asthma, and since it will not have a single strained breath of relevance to the plot, I'm forced to assume it's an affectation designed to elicit sympathy for a man intent on sewing 12 humans together. That's a big ask. Unless you want to give him a limp. Might just be me, but I don't think I've ever seen a media player that plays a tape rewinding sound effect as it scrubs back through a DVD. Also, why does this guy Martin have to rewind the movie on his laptop? This isn't Blockbuster, pal, it's a DVD. There are a variety of ways you can go back to the beginning and rewatch this disgustingness without a full rewind. Also, I get the sense that this rewinding sequence was just so Tom Six could get his name to appear on screen a few more times. Can you imagine the type of sick individual it takes to be willing to watch the Human Centipede multiple times and take copious amounts of notes in order to retell that story in one's own format? What? Why is the internet looking at me like that? I feel like the initial reason behind making the film black and white was that this fake rain looks fake as shit, and removing 90% of the color spectrum was the only way to fix it. Every time I see a to let sign, I think it's missing the letter I, and that's because I'm 9 years old. But also, for this picture, it's definitely missing an I. Why does this scene seem to be here only to show me that Martin sometimes does accidentally kill people when he shoots them and crowbars them? Like, settle down, Sins lovers. He's got a technique here that's not 100% foolproof, but it works most of the time. Stop criticizing the shoot first and ask crowbars later method, dammit. Stealing. Without this scene, I bet literally dozens of us would have been thinking, okay, sure, he kidnapped 12 humans and stitched 10 of them together with duct tape and hope, but how did he ever manage to remove their clothes?
Hi, this is Mark from USA Actors Management regarding your audition request for our clients, Ms. Williams and Mr. Kitamura from Human Centipede.
I only mentioned the movie they were in because the movie itself is more famous than the actors, and even people who saw the first movie wouldn't know who I'm talking about unless I mention it. Good God, man, invest in some chloroform already.
Have you shit yourself again?
I mean, why do you ask? Has this movie not shown Martin to be gross enough yet or something? Believe me, you don't want to hear the audio, but it shows that Martin has been the victim of SA as a child. But When you include stuff like this, we have permission to be as disgusting as possible because it's only a movie and it doesn't matter logic starts to fall apart. Clearly, you are trying to say something about mental health. It's just that you want to show people stitched together ass to mouth even more. Word is, the foreword in this Human Centipede scrapbook proclaiming the procedure to be 100% medically accurate was written by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Also, there are some quarters of the internet that say this movie only exists because of the utter disgust people showed to the first movie. And this movie reacts to that critique by choosing to go even further. I've never heard a more convincing argument to stop all film criticism. No one will be seated during the Martin puts on his security guard clothes while his mother brushes her hair scene. Movie somehow includes footage of me watching this movie, accurate to the last strand of beard growth.
He keeps on talking about a centipede with 12 people. What does that mean?
4 times the profit, that's what it means. So in this scene, we find out that Martin has suffered abuse from his father, that his mother hates Martin for sending her husband to jail, and that this psychiatrist is a f***ing quack with boundary issues. This movie should have been made in the first place, but since we can't that, it definitely didn't need to explain Martin to me.
I'm sure it's just a passing phase.
One of my bad days!
Stop f***ing bothering me, you r***.
What a piece of shit. I hope he gets his teeth knocked out and is sewn to another human in due course. What the movie thinks my reaction to this dialogue will be, presumably. Honestly, that's what you get for not following the IKEA instructions for this Fugit table and leaving the top completely disconnected from its legs.
The lips from B and C, and the anus of A and B.
Movie expects us to believe that Martin hasn't already written down the notes for How to Human Centipede. Oh no, he thinks Vulcans are real and he won't stop until he finds one. Run, cosplay nerds! One of the scribblings on this paper is just 3 times 4 equals 12. It is extremely hard to get a gun in England. Like, really hard. Even if you have a hunting license, you're not getting a pistol like this unless you have gang relations. Now, I don't want to make any hasty generalizations, but I don't think parking garage attendant Martin is part of any East London gangs. Honestly, Martin might just be picking people based on their shitty parking. I'm not saying that's okay, but at least it's relatable. It makes no sense how this asshole has gotten away with this so far. And remember, we're ignoring that this was all a fantasy thing at the end because it's clearly total bullshit. Anyway, in the first movie, Dr. Hyder was at least doing it in somewhat secluded areas with no cameras. British police must be up to their neck in finding lost swans to ignore this shit. This lady is called Rachel, and she will eventually publish an autobiography of these harrowing events simply called Survives This. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this or not. I personally just figured this out, and yeah, I feel kind of stupid about it, so don't judge me, but Martin seems really obsessed with the human centipede. Also, if this is how Martin likes to enjoy this movie, his laptop screen should be absolutely filthy. Even in England, sandpaper is very inexpensive, so I'm not sure why he's being so frugal with it. What, you want me to send something else? Go on, tell me exactly how much time you want me to spend talking about Martin's wood maintenance habits. We can't show you what happens in this scene, not because of ad suitability, but because we're good people. Good day. Martin is carefully checking everyone's duct tape handcuffs, which completely negates the sin I was just writing, querying why none of the eventual 12 adults in this room attempt to escape what are, at best, moderately annoying restraints. Oh, apparently it hasn't negated it. Martin's ears are apparently exactly like a stethoscope. Martin's only lines in this movie are moans of pain or pleasure, and then many, many asthma attacks. Great if we're attempting to represent real people, but it affects absolutely nothing. No one tries to take advantage of it. It doesn't prevent him from doing any of the horrible things he does. It literally just prolongs the end of this tedious, monochromatic, multi-sensual monster piece of manure.
I just spoke to Miss Annie, and she is very, very excited and available to fly to London to audition for the new Tarantino film.
One of these people belongs to a talent agency, which gives Martin the idea to phone the agent of Ashlyn Yenny, who plays Jenny in the first movie, and trick her into flying to London to audition for a Quentin Tarantino movie so he can capture her, and it works! Also, I would like to know right goddamn now how Martin has the requisite skills to talk to a talent agency and completely fool them into thinking he represents Quentin goddamn Tarantino.
Human Centipede's a f***ing film!
Oh shit, looks like someone has chosen violence in this movies versus films debate.
He's gonna stitch us up, to mouth.
And yet, hearing this still doesn't motivate anybody to at least attempt to stand up and do something about their situation. The first movie was 90% botched escape attempts, even post-patellar plucking. Martin was conveniently up in the middle of the night to avoid his mom's stabbing.
What is this?
What, you mean the Human Centipede scrapbook? It's because of you, alright? I learned it by watching you! Also, the main character's secret diary is discovered and destroyed by an abusive family member cliché. We will now watch Martin put on his clothes again in real time because it's symbolic of the blood being slowly drained out of my cadaver while purgatory dares me to blink while watching paint dry. Honestly, the fact that the centipede doesn't talk and give passersby sage advice is a sin for me. I know the creepy psychiatrist from earlier told us that a centipede bite can hurt, but shoving your mother's head into a tank as if the centipede is a f***ing shark is always going to be hilarious long before it's scary. This is the closest any movie in this turd of a trilogy comes to an actual human centipede. The layout of this room is ridiculous. I mean, look at the power outlets. There are 0 electronics on this wall, which means the cables have to travel along the wall looking all unsightly and such, not to mention the atrocious nature with which this carpet was fitted, leaving a good few inches of it trailing up the wall. Honestly, this movie is disgusting. Movie steals the dinner scene from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Wasting food. Why does he keep shooting people in the place where action movies tell me an important artery is? The movie will of course not show Martin dragging his huge, unconscious, angry upstairs neighbor to his car because it knows that it's bullshit. Fake ass Rain is still looking fake ass. Clothed intercourse.
I'd rather that boy.
The biggest problem with this movie is that it is very clearly trying to ramp up as much disgustingness as it possibly can as some sort of endurance test, like it's a badge of honor to have the characters do and say disgusting things in almost every frame of it. What it ultimately does is make me wonder what John Waters would do with a movie like this. In this scene, the creepy doctor from earlier is in Martin's parking garage with some guy as they share a sex worker. No explanation is given about who they are to each other or why they picked this parking garage in particular out of the hundreds in the city of London. I guess the movie just felt its balance of coincidence and grime wasn't fully aligned yet. While Martin shoots at the escaping sex worker, the wounded driver takes the opportunity to crawl around to the other side of the car? I don't know, I guess he just wanted to die over here?
Sir, this is where you work.
Being this calm after you've just witnessed one of your patients murder somebody. I mean, I'd be shocked by the coincidence of it all at the very least. It's at this point that I don't know if Martin is just hallucinating the baby or if he actually left this baby in the car from an earlier scene and no one has ever seen him. This is one up room of requirement where tons of people visit every day but no one is ever around to witness a thing. If he dies from his asthma right now and the movie ends right here, I will forgive all the sins. Actually, wait, no, this movie has done enough damage that I just can't allow that. You'd think a pepper spraying might give her the opportunity to escape, but instead just acts like a Star Wars screen wipe to the next scene. Wow, I've been very unforgiving of Martin's chronic cough throughout the film. There is a bright side. At least his ringtone is super annoying.
I understand your driver will be picking her up.
I haven't heard Martin say one word in this movie, but apparently off screen he's a whiz on the phone. Fake ass Rain is somehow looking even faker ass than before.
I cannot believe I am here auditioning for a Quentin Tarantino film.
And quite honestly, you should have that kind of healthy skepticism before you even got on a plane. Now that you've been picked up in Martin's weird van, you should be, at the very least, thinking of a black phone situation or an under the skin kind of deal. Also, I know I hit this earlier, but once you get past the wow, this movie is boring and gross, there's not a lot to talk about. So I'll emphasize that it should not be this easy to get an actor to show up to an audition. There must be protections in place for this exact situation. Delusional fan on a break from reality pulling some crazy shit. What's that you say? Yeah, but this is the same agent that got her that human centipede gig. So how competent can they really be? And I would actually accept that argument. But I'll be sending the situation anyway because, as I said, there's all else to say about this ruptured appendix of a movie. Also, apropos of nothing in particular, can you imagine being in the first Human Centipede movie and coming back for seconds?
My agents are so excited about this.
They just learned object permanence yesterday. I'm so proud of them.
I should probably call them. Tell them I landed and, I'm on my way.
Listing all the things you should be doing as if that will protect you from a nitpicking when you don't do them.
Oh, and the rest of the cast, we all took showers before we shot the Centipede stuff.
I don't think Martin ever answered her about seeing the Human Centipede, but here she's going on and on about it like he's interested in anything she has to say. Also padding your sequel's runtime by reusing the DVD commentary from the first movie.
Because, you're close to someone's butt, you don't want to smell anything.
Also, this is the movie's attempt at doing some sort of inside baseball thing to be funny, and all I can report is that it's not working.
That must be Quentin's car.
Why the would she think Quentin Tarantino would be holding auditions in this creepy-ass, clearly abandoned building without asking her to take her shoes off first? We don't really know how much time has passed, but it's strange that not a single one of these missing people has been traced back to Martin, either through the crime scene at his home, the abandoned kid in the parking garage, or one of the 942,562 CCTV cameras in the greater London area that could have traced his minivan to this location. In addition to all the time this movie wastes on kidnappings and asthma, it also spends a crazy amount of time on Martin walking through the warehouse to look down at his victims. I expected this to be a shitty movie, but I'm astonished at how shitty it is. I heard a story years ago about a king who held an open competition for the hand of his daughter, where the prospective suitors were given 3 extremely difficult tasks to get the deal done. The first 2 tasks required physical and mental endurance that several of the men were able to pass, but on the 3rd task, they would have to tell a story that never ends. And while these men told wonderful stories that would last for hours, they were not able to clear that impossible bar. Then some rando smartass in town managed to get past the first 2 tasks by tricking people. On the 3rd task, he starts telling a story about a farmer digging a hole, then another hole, then another hole, and so on, telling it like this for hours until Act 2 of the story, where the farmer plants a seed in one of the holes and plants a seed in another hole, and so on, until Act 3 of the story, where a small bud appears in the ground and another, and so on. The smartass is not allowed to finish the story because it's quite clear it would actually go on forever. The point is, the story that smartass told is basically a much tamer Human Centipede 2, because everything this movie does serves to make a 15-minute premise into a nearly 90-minute slog. I'm going to add 1.4 billion sins here, trust me. It earns it. We gave Dr. Hyder a lot of shit in the last movie for not having an anesthetist on hand for all the, I'm just going to say, surgeries. But that critique feels rather silly now that I'm faced with Martin using his crowbar-induced concussive sleepy time method like it's a fucking Flintstones cartoon. Martin will use a hammer to remove the rocker's teeth despite having a perfectly good set of pliers to use. I hate all those words and the order in which I said them. Also, we see Martin pulling teeth out of his upstairs neighbor's mouth, and it feels like pumpkin seeds being pulled out of a jack-o'-lantern. The fact that the angry neighbor's head does not become a jack-o'-lantern is somehow a sin that I'm going to make up right now so I can feel better about myself. At this point, I thought we were going to see Martin perform some sort of emergency C-section to save this baby and provide the movie with another tier of grossness, perhaps become a full-blown remake of Eraserhead. But no, he just covers the supposedly dead mother with a sheet, and it's a way for one of the characters to escape, and it means nothing, because it's all a fantasy anyway. We can't show you him slicing into her knee, and honestly, why would you want us to? Regardless, an interesting quirk of this movie is that all the blood and shit and gore should make it very hard to watch. However, the black and white nature of the film makes it even harder to watch, which actually makes it easier to watch. This movie could be working towards a finale where Martin is unable to even create a human centipede. It would make sense because he has no medical training and he's basing everything on a movie. In the end, he does create a human centipede somehow, but I had fun thinking that he wouldn't. Anyway, here to express my feelings about this movie a little more succinctly, here's Samuel L. Jackson.
I need you to give my time back to me. Can you give me back my time?
As all the players are stapled together, one thing this movie does manage to do is bring you some comfort. No matter how bad life gets, no matter what it throws at you, most of us can always say, we were never in the Human Centipede 2. It took this movie 1 hour and 1 minute to Human Centipede 2 full sequence, and there were only 22 minutes left. Oh, hold on a second, I said that wrong. There's a whole 22 minutes left! The movie totally inspires the dancing scenes from Joker. And look, you can tell Mr. Tarantino that I will be emailing everyone about how unprofessional these auditions are. You can fly me all the way to the UK under false pretenses. You can knock me out and make me the head of Human Centipede, but don't you dare try to feed me baked beans, you f***ing British monster. Also, chin up, Ashlyn. At least you haven't got your nose up someone's ass this time. I keep thinking of cool things they could actually do with this premise, like having this actress from the first movie using everything she's learned from making that movie to survive this situation. And the movie just always ends up going to the boring or gross route. It wouldn't have been good, but it would have been better. I mean, seriously, guys, why isn't this movie what I imagined it to be? Only one person in this centipede has a working mouth, so I don't know how all these other people are making unmuffled sounds right now.
I'm really excited to come to London for Mr. Tarantino's auditions.
I'm beginning to believe these talent agents are in on Martin's plan. As Martin literally massages the shit out of everyone, well, that's the sin. In the previous 2 minutes, we saw Martin being impatient about how the digestion was going with his human centipede, and now he's come up with a brilliant idea to use a laxative. But the way this is edited, it really feels like he had the laxative there the whole time. So why didn't he just go ahead and use it if he already had it? And if he didn't already have it, then this is the movie saying he jumped in his van and grabbed some at a pharmacy somewhere. Why didn't he bring me back some snacks, god damn it? Can't show it, but they all appear to be crawling forward, and for no reason. Why move at all? Apparently, people complained about the lack of fecal matter in the first movie. Imagine fixing that very specific problem ahead of the more common complaint of the movie existing at all. The Last Supper. Leonardo da Vinci. You can find this one-of-a-kind artwork in the Church of Holy Mary of Grace in Italy. Normally, the skip sin is reserved for scenes that are boring, or the movie unites two characters that have a history and they start arguing or some such thing. Here, we will be skipping because the scene in question is abhorrent. I've already added 1.4 billion sins previously, so what's another 5.3 billion? I don't know who challenged the director to make this movie as disgusting as possible, but apparently it was the internet. Everyone, let this be a lesson. You don't have to take challenges from the internet seriously. One more thing we can't show, but this pregnancy prosthetic is passable when it's covered in clothing or when she's on the floor and covered in blood. But now that she's up and running about, it looks not good. Again, I think the black and white thing might have been out of necessity rather than creativity. All f*** you with these keys still in the f***ing car. Also, car won't start in a horror movie cliche. Also, if only Martin had a heavy tool of some sort that he's been using for the entire movie to smash into this car with instead of futilely banging on the windows. This movie felt it was necessary to show, well, something unshowable involving a baby and a gas pedal that I can't adequately describe. The most f***ed up part, I think, it was supposed to be funny. Well, look on the bright side, Martin. Now you've got 2 human centipedes. I'm sorry, is this guy infatuated with the movie The Human Centipede or the classic 1981 arcade game Centipede? Pick a lane, movie. Pick a lane. Everything works out perfectly for Ashlyn here, as she incapacitates Martin for a brief moment while also being near the funnel and an escaped centipede so that she can do this thing with Martin that I'm not even sure I can describe. Anyway, Martin can officially ask this centipede,
"Tell me how my ass tastes."
Also, don't ask me how I know, but we're expected to believe she shoved a funnel into his nether regions, and based on where it is now, I do not believe that's where the funnel ended up. Fine, I'll give the fantasy ending some, lip service? If it's a fantasy, why would he have imagined the sex worker pepper spraying him? Was he aiming for some realism in his dream to hold it all together? Did he also imagine that punch in the balls and the centipede crawling up his bum? Do you? No, Nope, I'm out. I just hit my max. I couldn't give a crawling about whether any of this celluloid cluster actually happened. Peed out, people. Also, this movie exists.
You're Frankenstein's monster if his monster was made entirely of dead dicks.
We're gonna go down to Spain. Then we're gonna get a gal to do a job. And then we're gonna buff up the dog by shit.
The spark of his life is smothered in shite. His spirit is gone, but his stench remains.
Today's Sunday, Divine Worship at 0800. Get your bunks made and get your uniforms on.
I'm here today because your mother is very worried about you.
Now you listen here. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy.
The dude minds. This will not stand, you know? This aggression will not stand, man.
A secret code? No. Poems, no less. Poems, everybody!
Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep.
Not like this. Not like this.
What's the capital of Thailand?